let's do it. Self-determination theory. So, self-determination theory says there are three ways that students navigate the development from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation. There's three factors that need to be in place for students to navigate that transformation: autonomy, competence, and then relatedness slash purpose. Some people use one, some people use the other. I'm going to show you both. So, there's three factors. Let's dig into those a bit more. The first one is autonomy. Autonomy means the desire to be your own boss. It does not mean that you make every decision independently. It does not mean you work without the help of others. Those last two drive me bonkers because a lot of college students, they go to college thinking, no one can tell me what to do. I can't ask for help for anyone. I have to do it myself. That's not how human beings operate. We are social creatures. Some people have more social appetite than others, but we are designed to work in groups in some capacity. So, any college students listening, go see your professors during office hours. But the first part is the most important part. You need to believe that you have some sort of control over what's happening in your life. That's locus of control. It's very tied to motivation. Why would I work hard if it's all being forced on me and it doesn't reflect me at all? So the time management strategies often run afoul of that. Many academic tasks do, actually. Next one is competence, and that is the belief that if I try, I'll be successful. If I try, I can do it. So if someone gave me a calculus midterm, I'm not going to be very motivated to break that down and make a plan to study because I don't believe I can do calculus. It's been decades since I even tried. So I don't think I can do it. Why would I want to engage in time management if I don't believe it will help me be successful? And now remember that a lot of this is perception because some of you might be like, oh, Michael, you seem really smart. I bet you could do calculus. Uh, thank you. But in my head, I don't believe it. These are beliefs. Okay. So even if a student, they can do it, they got that potential. If they don't believe they can be successful, then they're not going to be very intrinsically motivated. And last one is that double whammy. So relatedness is how the task aligns with your identity, and identity is always linked to groups. Okay. How does a task align with your identities? And purpose is, does this help you accomplish something that matters to you, which is actually very relevant to the one we just did, the proximity part of the means ends model. So relatedness, you're asking a student to use a planner one-on-one, and they're doing it and they're doing it, but then their friends are like, oh, who needs a planner? And that friendship identity is stronger than make my learning specialist happy identity. You lost the battle, right? It's not aligned with their identity they're trying to put out into the school. A kid tells you the most fascinating way to break down something and estimate it. They don't want to raise their hand and share it in front of the class, right? The different competing identities are affecting their motivation and their desire to explore, use, and share the strategies they have. And purpose, like I said, I think that one we covered pretty nicely in the last lens. Does this matter, right? If you have just decided that you hate math, I hate saying this out loud, but some students are like that. I hate math. I'll never be successful. I just hate it. I won't do it. So asking them to use time management to plan out to study for a math test is not motivating to them because they've already given up on that goal. Whereas if they're like, oh my gosh, if I do well on this, I'll get the grades I wanted. It's almost the end of the quarter. I have to do it. Now they're more motivated to use those strategies. So the nearness and the power of that goal can also influence the development of intrinsic motivation. So if there's a blockage on any one of those, time management's going to suffer. And I'm going to go through some examples, but I would love for you to be thinking about where do you think your students' biggest blockages might be, those clogged funnels? Is it autonomy, competence, or relatedness? Let's look at a few sample quotes and then we'll keep going. Remember those kids? I don't care. I don't need a planner. This is stupid. I'm not doing it. What might be running through their head when it comes to autonomy, competence, and relatedness? Autonomy. My teachers make me do this. This is a waste of my time, and I don't need it because I can remember. So feeling like they have no choice in terms of time management and that they can choose not to do it, and I'll show you. Oh, teenagers, that's a classic trick. I'll show you. I'm going to do nothing, and it's going to work out great, and sometimes it does, and a lot of times it doesn't. So autonomy, it's being forced on me. Competence, it won't help. I'm just going to lose it. I mean, can't keep a physical planner. I don't even know where to start. What's the first step? I have no idea. This is so big, so impossible. I can't do it. And finally, it won't help. Even if I plan out for this math test, I'm not going to be successful. I still have calculus on my mind. And then finally, the relatedness purpose. Relatedness. My teachers are mean. They don't like me. Why would I do something to make them happy when they're out to get me? Because they went through and got their teaching certificate and they show up every day at before 7 a.m. because they really don't like children, right? Like, I hope the sarcasm is coming through on there, but that's what I think every time kids say that. Or how about this one? They offer time to come meet with me. I'll help you get started. Come meet with me. We'll make a plan. You're trying to punish me. Am I in trouble? It's like, oh, yeah, yeah. And of course, once again, that relatedness. My friends agree that grades don't matter. Why would I work hard on this? Because my friends and I know that school isn't important. Another one could be parents. My parents forced me to do this, so I'm not going to do it. So you can see how that relatedness will go in there and those goals. If the goal of getting a good grade doesn't matter to the student, then they may not be developing intrinsic motivation to work towards it. So if any one of those are blocked, we can see how a student would end up with that clogged funnel. They are choosing not to do it because their autonomy, competence, or relatedness purpose are being blocked. It's more motivating for them to avoid the time management strategy than to engage with it. But now we'll go back to that dear, wonderful student who we've been thinking about this whole session, who does use a planner, who is engaged. And I wonder what's going through their head when they are thinking through the use of time management strategies. I love my planner. I wish I could have taken a picture of all these kids who love their planners at my school. I don't know. It got away from me and I was showing students work, all that privacy stuff, but they all look different. One kid's is black. They wanted the blackest, plainest one. One kid's is, brightly colored. Another kid's, it has to be digital, right? Look at this next one. I found this app myself, right? Like, oh, I want to use this one. You've been telling me to use these things. That doesn't work for me. I want to do something else, right? Or if I check my work, my parents don't bug me anymore. I'm tired of my parents being in my business every day, so I'm just going to do this myself, right? I'm going to take control of my afternoons. Competence. It's so easy to set reminders on your phone. I am using Apple products for the first time, and I wasn't sure how to set reminders on iCalendar. And my students like, that's so easy. I'll show you. So they're very motivated because they have that competence belief. I can do this. I'm going to study more and crush this next test. I believe I can do it. I believe making my plan will get me the results I want. And don't forget, we don't have to talk about academics all the time. I plan my workout and I plan my training schedule myself. Some kids are very accomplished and beyond academics in a way that absolutely uses time management. Some of these kids are waking up an extra hour before school to exercise before school. I cannot do that. And they are doing it. And tell me that doesn't take time management, but they believe they can be successful. And so they get it done. And then finally, relatedness purpose. I love this top one. I've had more and more, I've had students who, and these are mostly high school students I'm thinking of and college, who they kind of like research their learning differences themselves. They're going into these online rabbit holes about ADHD and things like that. And they're like, oh, I love this strategy. One kid I'm thinking of, I guess they're a middle schooler, and they're trading reels, Instagram reels with their dad about time management strategies. So there are a lot of online communities that could help students find strategies that work for them in a way that aligns with those identities we talked about. College, I hear a lot of that. I really want to go to blank school. I've got 11-year-olds being like, I hope I'm a starting center at the University of Texas. And, we don't even know how tall they're going to be. Not that that's the only thing that matters in basketball, but like, it's probably pretty important. But if that motivates them, great. What do you think they do in University of Texas? Have you ever looked at the time management demands of being a student athlete? Let's try it out. And also, there are kids who actually do work very well with their friends. So they need to schedule time to meet with their friends to work productively. We can align the motivation with the identities and communities that do motivate our students, right? There's no reason it has to all be negative and oppositional. So, when we look at this lens, we're trying to set the stage to make sure that students have the opportunity to develop positive autonomy, competence, and relatedness slash purpose beliefs, because that's going to slowly stoke the fire of developing intrinsic motivation to use time management strategies. Okay. So remember, these are all perceptions, these are all beliefs. Like there's no 11-year-old out there. Well, there 99.999% of 11-year-olds are not ready to run most of their own life, right? And they shouldn't. I hope they still get like recess and get to play and be silly sometimes. They're not ready for total autonomy. But we need to offer them small bit steps that show them that there is a path towards autonomy, and that path goes through ownership of the strategies we're asking you to use. That relates to this one, choice, choice, choice. Where can we give them options? So part of it is just what we just said, which was the like, which one do you want to start with? So those are my two Google Doc templates that I use for students. If you want to do a to-do list, which one do you want to do? So one is all about just picking when and where. The other one has a little bit more of a accountability built into it. We could put more steps in it, but it's simpler. It doesn't have a calendar. So you're allowed to be more flexible with your time. Which one do you think will work with you? And you can always switch. But the agenda on the board, that's another one that I really like. So in our homeroom, homeroom is like pretty tight. There's not a lot of time there. So let's say in a certain homeroom, we need to do our check-in. We need to get ready for an upcoming like game that we're leading for the grade. And we need to get ready for our pumpkin carving contest. So I'll put those things on the board, but I won't put them in order. I'll say, wow, we have get to these things done. We need someone to be our leader for the day and decide the order. I need someone to prioritize these for us. And I'll usually ask like a silly trivia question, like what's the coldest temperature on this date in Colorado? Or who can stand on one foot for longest? Or who can solve this riddle? Whoever wins gets to be the leader for the day, and they decide the agenda, and we go along with them. Now, I'm still monitoring to make sure we get everything done. But hey, it actually makes it takes some of the pressure off me to let someone else decide. And it gives them a sense of the agenda for this homeroom is something that I'm invested in. I get to make decisions as part of setting the agenda. Now, you can't do that every day, but you might be able to find small ways to let a student kind of steer the ship, either in a work period or there might be other ways, but letting them have some inkling of how time management works is a great way to get kids invested and feeling autonomous. When we talk about competence, remember, this is about the belief, the ability to work hard and succeed at whatever you're working hard. So I love this idea of the struggle muscle, and that's something I learned from Joan Steinberg, who is a wonderful colleague in the Smarts and Research ILD team when she uses with her students. Because a lot of time, when kids are younger, they're used to having everything done for them. And that's especially true with time management. They don't have a window of time. They don't know what they did yesterday because it just fell out of their brain because they don't have that. So we do it for them. We plan their day, we plan their week, we plan their month, their whole year. But that makes them think that they can't do it. That's something that adults can do. They can't do it if they try. So we need to slowly pull back those the scaffolds around the kid and let them begin to try these tasks more independently. They might need help to fix things up. They might need to do some analysis on something that didn't go well. But we can start building competence beliefs because we're going to start to build that belief that if I try, I can do it. Okay. So in time management, the key to that, and actually everything with executive function, is reflection. Reflect, reflect, reflect. What do you want to do? How did that go? What do you want to do? How did that go? There's really the questions we ask to develop self-understanding are not rocket science. What strategy will work best for you? Why? How does that match how you learn best? How did that go? And what would you do differently next time? If you just ask those four questions regularly, and as in my EF coaching life, I always ask those, what do you want to try and why at the end of the session? When you see them, how did it go? What should we do next time? If you could just get in the habit of asking those, and consistently, you're going to be developing those competence beliefs because they're going to be coming into greater awareness of what actually works and what doesn't. Going from I'm bad at math to "Oh, I'm doing pretty well, but man, I need to watch out for negative numbers." That is a shocking change that really will boost those competence beliefs. Same thing with time management. Going from, "I don't need this, my teachers are out to get me," to, "Of course I use my sticky note, it helps me plan my weekend," is a huge change. Huge. Okay? Another great competence-based strategy is doing a hypothetical. It could be very overwhelming to plan out your month. If you're a junior in high school, it's important to do, or in college student, forget about that. You need to be able to set weekly goals and work towards the big stuff, but that's really scary. So do it for a hypothetical, an imaginary student. And these are both coming from the SMART secondary curriculum. We plan out either a whole month for a busy kid who's a 10th grader or a week, a student who has a very busy week. And practicing those hypotheticals removes the emotional fear of failure that underlies, weak competence beliefs, and it gives them a chance to try it out. And then it's like, all right, let's try it for you too. So you've kind of cleared the path, you've gotten them a little used to how it works, and then you get a chance to try it. So before you go straight to them, which might feel threatening or activating, we're going to do a hypothetical first. I love that. Works great. Our last area for self-determination theory is relatedness and purpose. So, how can we align our time management strategies with both the goals that matter, that's purpose, and the relationships and identities that matter, that's the relatedness? Okay. Um, I mentioned this earlier, but there is such a wonderful kind of neurodiverse movement that is it's been developing for the last chunk of years, but it's really just developed a lot of a rich ecosystem of people talking about, well, I have this learning difference and here's what I do. And time management to me is one of the biggest, richest areas. So How to ADHD is a great channel for it because the woman who leads it, she is very upfront with her ADHD and she does her research, she does her homework, she shares great strategies. The videos are super fun, super engaging, but they're everywhere. If you're a student, whatever your student's kind of LD diagnosis is, or even if they don't have one, they can find young people, older people, whoever, talking about the strategies that work for them. And that aligns, if they feel seen, you're connecting with that relatedness belief and you're going to be fostering intrinsic motivation. So I love that. Um, and connecting it to the things that matter to them. Um, we've covered this before, but like if so that far one exercise log, a kid's training to make the next sports team. It was just Halloween at my school, and this kid made their own Wednesday Addams outfit, and it was stunning. I thought it was store bought, and I thought it was a fancy store bought, and they said it took me a few months to do it. And lastly, I have some students in lacrosse, which is not something I know anything about. So I asked them to explain it to me. In every single one of those, there is time management, and that is connected to their identity as an athlete, as a sewer, as a whatever, but also to a goal they had in mind. It's a very rich place for discussion. It's a very rich place to shift the paradigm away from uh, academics where they might feel blocked intrinsically to something where they already have that intrinsic. So we're coming back to a little bit of the first lens as well. Okay, so that is going to be it for the self-determination lens. Pause for a second. Do we like this one? Does it help us to kind of engage? Any strategies we mentioned that you'd like? I love that autonomy, competence, and relatedness. It's just like a magic mantra in my mind. So I hope you found something in there that you kind of like. So take a second to reflect on that, and we'll get ready to wrap everything up. So as we wrap things up, and your brain is probably buzzing, and I talk so fast, your ears are probably buzzing too. But let's just go through few of the key takeaways. Time management, essential, foundational to success in school and success beyond school, extracurricular, and in their future fancy adult life. Time management also has unique challenges that make it hard to be motivated. That's not the kid's fault. So even though it's funny to maybe make a joke in the teacher lounge about how kids, can't use a planner to save their life, the truth is that time management is not always intrinsically motivated by nature, and it's become even harder to be intrinsically motivated in the portal era. So we can use the research, the theories and lenses on motivation to understand the challenges our students have and to identify small tweaks to strategies. And I really want to emphasize that small tweaks. Please don't try every strategy that was covered in this session. Please don't try to enact every lens or every theory. Small things can make a big difference. So as you kind of wrap up on this session, think about the lens that was most relevant to you and think about small tweaks you can make. And that will really plant a seed that I think you'll see some wonderful growth in your students. And also, I mean, some of you are smarts users, but if you're not, do look into getting some more executive function tools and resources. I think one thing that's risky with EF and time management specifically is like we know what works for us, and that can distort how we teach it to students. Like, oh, it's so easy to use a paper planner. I am married to paper planners. I will not give them up as long as I can hold a pen. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for every kid. So the strategies in Smarts are research based that allows me to, I can still share my own examples, and you always should. It's great to model how important time management is in your own life. But when you use these strategies, it gives you a way to kind of support the way every student learns, make sure all students are accessing those strategies. So Unit 4 is the unit that has the time management stuff in it. I think the free lesson right now is Unit 7 is the error correction, top 3 hits. But check it out anyway. Get the free lesson. Talk to the Smart staff about your questions on these Smarts lesson plans. There's a lot of wonderful stuff in there. Of course, there's tons of great time management resources out there, but I do like the kind of best practices paradigm in Smarts. It makes EF strategy teaching way easier. So as we get ready to wrap up, like I said, try to identify which lens are you kind of a devotee of? Are you a means ends person? Are you a self-determination person? Let's get into some fights later. That'll be great. Are there a few strategies that either you've been using for a while and you understand them better now, or that you want to try? And what other questions do you have? Because this issue of time management and the overlap of motivation is kind of a rich and fertile one. I'll be on the panel on the second day of the conference, so we can talk about it more then. But we could, it's also ongoing conversation as we explore these questions. There's my email right there. I love this stuff. I hope kind of that passion has come through. Probably could slow down the passion a little bit, but this stuff really matters, and it really is something that I believe in supporting our students' success. So I hope to see you in that panel, and feel free to reach out with any questions or comments you have on time management in general, SMART specifically. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're enjoying this wonderful conference, and I will see you around. Thank you so much for your time.